All right. I'm gonna go ahead and start. Desola, can you hear me? Oh, Miss Desola, can you hear me?
Yes, I do.
Okay, awesome, awesome. All right, so it's recorded, so I think we're good to go. So,
Okay.
my name is Toby. I don't know if I've met you before, one-on-one, or we spoke via the phone.
No,
Um, but
I'm new.
have we met in
No,
person?
I'm new.
Oh,
I'm
you're new.
new.
Okay,
Yeah.
where do you live?
Grand Prairie, Texas.
Grand Prairie. Okay, okay. And how did you hear about the meeting?
Um, I just joined through the friend of mine, Paulina Omoba.
Oh, okay.
I don't know, maybe you've met her.
What's her name again?
Paulina Omoba
Oh,
or Mr. Bayo.
I see.
Mhm.
Let me see. Are you seeing my screen? Let me make sure.
Yeah, I see it.
Okay. Okay. All right. Are you seeing my screen?
Yes.
All right. Okay. I can't remember that person, but
How about Mr. Bayo? Remember that
Mis-
one?
Mr. Bayo,
Mm-hmm. From
what's his
Hussein.
last name?
Uh, what's his last name? Ogundaye.
Oh, that sounds familiar.
Okay.
That sounds familiar. Okay. Okay. Now I think I remember. But anyways, I will because I'm recording it, so I will just like talk through it and just kind of set it up for people that are not here also. So I do a lot of creative work in the real estate space, and I help clients navigate both residential and commercial real estate to achieve their goals. We could be buying, selling, or investing in real estate. I also leverage social media, especially YouTube, Instagram, and Facebook, to provide market updates and help sell to my clients and help some the properties at the highest price possible. So I'm excited to be here with you today to talk about real estate, and hopefully you can feel empowered to take action after our discussion. Feel free to ask your questions at the end so that we could keep the presentation flowing nicely. And also don't forget to mute yourself. I think you are mute at this point, but that's fine. I see. I think we have Chalk or Chooks. I don't know if that's Chalk or Chooks too. But thanks for joining. About me, I'm a full-time realtor licensed in the state of Texas and Florida, but I partners with realtors all over the country to do real estate transactions. I have a corporate background in finance and accounting. My favorite course in high school was economics. So I enjoy reading up on economics generally. And while I was doing my full-time job, I was also investing in real estate. I started as an wholesaler in 2017, and I did some rehab properties. And I got my license as a realtor in 2018. On a personal note, I'm happily married. I'm blessed to be called a dad. Interesting fact about me is that um, I have ran over 14 half marathons, and I've also been to over 13 countries, and I plan going to two more countries before the end of this month to make it 15. So I'm pretty excited about that. So what we learned today is the current market trend, where we currently are, the outlook for the remainder of the year, the impact of tariff on real estate, and strategies to mitigate negative impact of tariffs, which is the most important thing. The president has said since last year was going to increase tariff. The question is, what are we going to do about it? With any economic policy, there is pros and cons, there's winners and losers. What are we doing to be winners from that economic policy? But before we get into tariff, we're going to talk about just the overview of the housing market as of today. Um, Generally, on a national level, prices of houses have increased by about 2%. But in some areas, um, there's been some overbuilding, and there's been some slight decrease in home prices. Um, Also, mainly because the interest rate has been high for so long. So it is a good time to negotiate because interest rates are high. Um, People are not buying as much. So it's definitely a good time to buy property and negotiate and have a great price. Because when interest rate goes down, we're gonna have a higher demand. But when interest rate goes down, it's gonna be a good time for you to refinance if you buy now. Tariffs on materials like steel, aluminum, and lumber have significantly increased. So we expect construction costs to go up. The thing about the way these contracts are done is like a 1 year contract. So most of the lumber and materials that builders are using now, they've signed the contract for the price a year ago. So real estate is like a lagging indicator. So it might take some time for you to see the impact of the tariffs in the market, because they're not like the stock market that it shows right away. Real estate, it takes months because they have all these long-term contracts with all the suppliers. On a more positive note, the rental market is stabilizing. The price and not increasing like what we had during COVID. But on the other hand, there's slower construction activity for commercial and residential rents. So there's a risk of upward pressure in the rental market in the future, just because people are dialing back because there's some level of uncertainty. So when everything is starting and everything is rebounding, there's a risk that there may not be enough spaces to, for rentals. Affordability remains an issue with real estate, especially with the first-time home buyers, as many people are getting priced out because of inflation. Give me a second. Okay, I see. Who is Samsung? So what is a tariff? A tariff is a tax imposed by the government on imported goods, usually charged as a percentage of the item paid by the importer. I know tariff has become a politically termed word these days, but let's put politics aside for a second and just understand what is a tariff so that we can speak knowledgeably about what a tariff is. A tariff is literally a tax on import goods, right? So I'm going to ask this question and I want to get some thoughts, right? Who pays for higher tariffs? Guys, any thoughts? You can send a message or you could just unmute and see the answer. So who pays for higher tariffs? Anybody? The importer pays, but is it going to be the company that's selling the product or is it going to be the consumer? Any thoughts? Okay. Consumer, customer, purchaser of the goods. All right. So I'm seeing messages, the customer, consumer, purchaser of the goods, right? Um, But yeah, those answers are all true, right? But the first person that pays for tariff is the company. Because again, think about it. Let's say China is sending cars to the US. The first person, and maybe let's say Toyota, right? The first person that pays tariffs is Toyota. The question is, are they going to pass the cost to the final consumer, right? And many times in a normal economy, the answer is yes, except they see data to suggest that an increase, if they pass that cost to the consumer, it's going to significantly impact their profit margins. Then they can go ahead and eat up the cost of the tariff, right? So the answer is both cases, the company and the buyer. Um, but it just depends. But generally, they tend to push most of the tariffs to the buyer, if not all of it. But sometimes the companies might take a hit on their profit margin, especially if it's like an elastic good, right? There's some goods that people need, and they can definitely increase the cost, and people are still going to buy. So my other question is interest rate likely to increase or decrease when tariffs increase? So whenever tariff increase, right, does interest rate increase or decrease? Like, what are your thoughts? You can say the answer, or you can just text it in the chat. Any thoughts? Is interest rate likely to increase or decrease with an increase in tariff? Any takers? You just have two options. Interest rate increases or decreases. Likely to increase. Okay, that's a good answer. Any other thoughts? Between who is Samsung SM? I'm very curious. Well, Samsung SM got it right. Interest rate will increase. And why is interest rate going to increase? Interest rate is going to increase because um, when tariffs go higher, prices go higher. And when prices go higher, you have more inflation. And when you have more inflation, interest rate is going to try to combat inflation, right? Because if prices are higher and interest rate goes down, prices even gets higher, right? So the normal trend is higher tariffs, higher price, higher inflation, higher interest rate. Okay. So tariffs generally is not very business friendly, but it might be good for the government to protect a specific national interest. So I just want you guys to really understand the basics of how tariffs work because there's a lot of news out there and it could be confusing. So what is the purpose of tariffs? To protect domestic industries, create jobs, generates government revenue, um, influence trade behavior, and correct trade imbalances. Okay, got a response. Right. So yeah, so you protect domestic industries, um, but that's done over the long run because it takes a while for product lines to be built, right? So if there's a tariffs on cars, for example, a car company cannot just build a product line in a year. This takes 5, 6 years. This is a long-term thing. So what that means is that cars that are imported are going to be expensive on the short run, but over the long run, maybe the prices will decrease because there's more domestic production, right? Um, I just want you guys to look at this slide for a second. S- So I took this today, screenshots today. If you look at the right side, you see Sunday, May 18 to 18 p.m., right? The national debt is 36 trillion. Debt per citizen is 107K. Federal tax revenue is 5 trillion. Revenue per citizen is 15,000. So if you guys have a friend that is earning $15,000 a year, but spending 107 a year, what are you guys going to call the friend? Or what are you going to think about the friend? Um, and this is increasing by the second. If you go to this usdebtclock.org, you're going to see that the rate just keeps increasing. It's scary to look at. So I bring this up because that's some of the argument that people talking about tariff bring up. They care about the debts and they're looking for ways to combat it. I don't think tariff alone is a good tool. And I think it has to be enacted in a smart way. I think we have to look at the federal revenue, government spending, growing the economy, managing inflation in a strategic way, encouraging local production. There's a lot of things to look at, but it is a legitimate conversation to bring about talk about tariff as a way to curb down the US debt. I just don't think it can single-handedly take care of the US debt. But it's something we should all be aware about. I don't think people talk about this US debt as much as they should. It's crazy. It's a lot of money if you divide it by the total population. And we need to all have an honest conversation as citizens of this country. Let me see. Okay, to generate immediate, reading a comment, generate immediate revenue for the government, yes. So impact of tariff um, on real estate sectors. So these are general impact of tariffs, increase construction costs. Um, and I just focus more on real estate. It does increase, lead to higher home prices, slower housing supply growth. When there are tariffs, builders tend to slow down on construction. So you have less supply, and that could even drive more demand in a normal economy. You have a reduced renovation because unfortunately, a lot of materials we use to renovate our cabinets, our appliances, our flooring are from China and out of the country. So it's going to increase that cost. And even from an investment standpoint, we're seeing less flips because it's just more expensive to flip properties. Um, and also, there's a lot of uncertainty from the tariffs, right? And you also have more market volatility, um, and just on more uncertainty also. So that's what tariff causes. So this next slide, I'm talking about what has happened so far as of today because of the tariff, right? As of today, what has happened so far? We've had a decrease in GDP growth by 0.7% than what was expected. There's been a 1.7% increase in overall pricing in the short term. Now, there's already inflation in the economy, right? So we don't know if that's all as a result of tariffs, but the experts are saying that that's part of why is tariffs one of the reasons why inflation has continued. which makes sense, but in a way it doesn't make sense too because the tariff is not a final, but some companies are already planning, assuming there's going to be a tariff because they don't have time for the back and forth between all the governments. They have to plan their budget. So some companies are planning like tariffs are going to be happen, even though they're not all that in place for every country. Some companies are waiting and freezing hiring and freezing everything. So it's been slowing down the labor market. Um, but on the positive side, there's been an increase in manufacturing in the US. But there's also been a decrease in agriculture. Um, so, you might make an argument that there's an offsetting balance with that. So what are the strategies to mitigate negative impact of tariff? Like I said, what can you do to protect yourself from tariff? At the end of the day, you need to see tariffs as an inflationary measure. So the simplest way to think about it is how can you protect yourself against inflation? Right? If you plan building, you want to sign a contract for those materials before they increase, right? And you want to make sure your contracts are set up in such a way that when there's an increase, there's no escalatory clause or the cost of materials cannot be increased. That everything is fixed and final. You also want to use future contracts, which is a way to hedge against inflation, especially if you're a business owner, you're a supplier, and you're having contracts of 1 or 2 years. You may want to look at using future contracts and hedge your risk against an increase in price. Sourcing domestic alternatives, you want to look into the US and make sure you have alternatives that um, if if the cost for importing is high, you may have a good option here locally so that you don't pay as much. You just want to adjust your investment strategy. And I mean, some people might look at a resale, just because if you think about it, a property that's already built, the cost of materials cannot increase anymore, right? Versus a new property. Now, I've not seen the impact of the tariff from a consumer standpoint for new constructions. But I believe that builders are eating some of the costs, and in the future, they might increase that. And part of why is because the demand for housing has gone down a little bit. So for them to pass that on to the buyer is only going to slow down things even more. But if we're in a market that we can see the demand, the impact of the tariff on real estate, people tend to do resale on that because the resale is not going to cost as much as the new builds. But right now in this market, new builds are actually less at this point, and you have more people buying new builds. Another reason why people are buying new builds because builders are giving incentives to help them with interest rates in a way that they are not getting incentives with resales. But most importantly, you want to invest in yourself. You want to keep pursuing new certifications, increase your earning power, and your job security. We live in a very dynamic economy. Things change very quickly. So you want to make sure you're investing in yourself, you're building yourself, and you're also staying current on the trade policy and tariffs because things are moving quickly. Um, you know, and the best way to give yourself a chance is by knowing what's going on in the market. Because if you don't even know what's going on, how can you protect yourself? Again, there are winners and losers in every market and every economy. Your job is to make sure you're one of the winners. And I don't really focus on all the frustrations. I just focus on what can I do in this situation. And that's what I encourage you guys to do. And that's why I do these meetings to give people an opportunity to know what's going on and plan and start making moves. And I'm here to guide you through that process. So I'll open it up for Q&A. But before I go into that, I do a lot of ask me any question on Instagram, and I post all those videos on YouTube. So feel free to follow me on Instagram and on YouTube, Toby_CPA_realtor, for you to get my market updates, buyer tips, and just behind the scenes of my real estate life, and just information that you need in regards to real estate. So. But that's all I got. And now I'm going to open it up for questions. Any question? Any questions, Chooks, DSLR, Samsung SM? You can leave a question in the chats, or you could just talk and unmute yourself.
Good evening, Mr. Oluwafemi. Thank you so much for this interaction. We really appreciate. My question will be from the knowledge angle or from you that a lot of people are buying are into a new building, new construction than the old resale. And I want to know why. Because if you look at the price and compare the price of the old and the new one, maybe the price is lesser than the new one. But when you look at the cost of renovation, at the end of the day, you are going to renovate the house and you look at the cost of the material and you're adding the cost of material to the purchase price. And so at the end of the day, it's more or less the same amount, unless there is a reason apart from the cost behind it, maybe nearest to facility infrastructure. But I'm trying to ask that question to you because you are a real estate guru. You know why people prefer the new one than the old one. Thank you so
Yeah,
much.
that's a great question. And what's the name, ma'am?
My name is Lara. Thank you so much.
Okay, Miss Lara. And where are you calling from? Where?
I'm calling from Maryland.
Maryland. Okay. And how did you get to know about this meeting?
It was, I saw it in the TPC forum, the number,
Oh, I
just
see.
look it up, and I said it would be nice to add it, to be part of
Okay.
the
Okay.
meeting.
Nice,
Okay.
nice, nice meeting you. You can also text me your number so that we could stay in touch. But yeah, to answer your question, one of the major reasons is that builders are doing more when it comes
Okay.
to incentives, right?
Okay.
Interest rate currently is around 6.7, 6.5. Builders are buying down interest rate to 4.9, 4.5, 3.9 in some cases. Because you have to understand, at the end of the day, when someone wants to buy a house,
Yes.
the most important thing for them, the most important question for them is, what is my monthly payment? What is my monthly payment? Right? So builders understand this, and builders are addressing that question head on because they're like, hey, if you buy this $400,000 house from us, you're gonna pay a maximum of $30,000. And if you buy a $400,000 house from somebody else from a resale, you might pay 3,800 from house because you're paying 6.5% and the builder is giving the person for 4.5%, right? So that's actually the major reason. Now, the other reasons that people want, newer houses that have warranty, because people don't want to be bothered. In a new house, the roof is under warranty for 10 years, the foundation, the appliances, style preferences. Some people are working from home more, so they don't need to be close to the city or downtown. Some people just like to live farther from everything, right? From all the noise. Sometimes the suburbs have better school district too, or newer schools. So that's also a factor. But the most common reason I've seen is that the numbers from the new build side just makes better sense. And the builders have more tools to be able to respond to the changes in market in a way that someone that's selling their house, a resale person doesn't have. So if you want to attract someone to buy an older house, you have to have conversations about giving them money towards closing to buy down their interest rate. Um, and you have to show that your house has been renovated also. And you have to show that your house is in a good neighborhood, right? And you might have to make some updates to the door, repaint the house and things like that. So that's gonna help your house move a little bit faster if you're in the resale side. Did I answer your question?
Yes. Thank you
Miss
so much.
Lara, did I answer your question?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
All
Thank you
right,
so
sounds
much.
good.
Thank you.
Yeah, and text me your information. Okay, 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 I've seen it. All right. I'll definitely stay in touch. And if you have more questions, we can talk about it over the phone.
Okay. We will do that. Thank you so much.
Yeah, you're welcome. Any other
Yeah,
question?
my question is, how about if somebody have a like I, I have a land and I want to build a house on it? How will I get fund for that one to build it? I want to
Okay.
make it like a real estate. I want to sell it or rent it out.
Okay. So you have a land
Mhm.
and you want to build on it.
Right,
So the first question is you need to know what it's zoned for. Is it zoned for residential
right.
housing? Is it
Mhm.
zoned for multifamily? So when you know what zone for, is it zone for commercial real estate? So when you know what zone for, then you want to get a builder. Um, actually you want to talk to multiple builders. Builders tend to charge per square foot, right? So, but you also have to understand what they're providing per square foot. Then you analyze, you can negotiate, and you sign a contract with them. Then you also get, if you want to do it cash, obviously that's easier. If not, um, you have to talk to a lender that will give you a construction loan. Part of what they need in the construction loan is a reputable builder. They're going to do the survey of the land to make sure um, it's not in a high risk floodplain and is zoned for what you're trying to do it for. They also want to make sure that there's equity on the land, which they could push into your construction costs. So the first step is understand the zoning. Second step is talk to a couple of builders to be able to estimate your cost. Third step is talk to a lender that can get you a construction loan to start the process, and then you can have a timeline, and you go from there. Um, and who it was Miss Desola that asked that question?
Right.
Yeah. So you could text me for those references for the builder. For different builders, I can give you an estimate. I can also
Okay.
connect you with a lender that can help you.
Okay.
All right. Did I answer your question?
Yes.
Awesome. Any other question, guys? I like those questions.
Oh.
All right. I'll wait 1 more minute for any question. If not, we're gonna wrap it up. And we'll take it from there. So I see Lara. Chooks, which Chooks is this? I know so many Chukudi. Chooks, can you introduce yourself? I just want to know who is joining. All right. If we don't have any question, we're gonna wrap this up. Again, um, scan the barcode to get all my information. If you want to stay in touch or if you want to set up a one-on-one to talk about other real estate needs, or if you have any family or friends that you think I can give some good information to, I would love to help you. And I do this every month. So I'm gonna do this again next month. If you send me your email, I will send you my next meeting and all the information that you need. But yeah, that's it. All right. So nice talking to you guys again. And thanks for taking time out of your Sunday to join me. And take care. And we'll talk later.
Thank you so
Thank
much.
you very
All
much.
right. Bye,
Thank you.
guys.
We appreciate.
Bye.
Thank you.
You're
See
welcome.
you.
Bye. Yeah.
Bye.